Track 16, Dirty Little Secret. The relief room of Unit 13 was smaller than one could imagine. It was difficult for anyone to do their business in something of this scale, but it was the safest room in the unit. The last couple days of practice were over, and streams of water had been falling for a while. Steam rolled across the mirror and slid down the walls. Jet sat on the bathroom floor, knees pulled up, sweat from training drying beneath the mist. The shower hissed beside him, steady and loud enough to pass for effort. The dirty piece of gray glass still rested in his shaking hands. It felt legendary. The images didn't look like anything he'd ever seen before. Maybe somewhat recognizable, but not like this. On the back of it, scratched in shaky letters, a salutation waited. Jet hesitated, like it was a test he didn't study for. He put it down, then picked it back up and started reading again. For the one with more than one name. Jet thought, well, I have more than one name. He started at the beginning one more time. For the one with more than one name. You don't have to make a choice, because you have been chosen to have the best of both worlds. Follow your head, heart, or back. The bareback book. Jet's eyes widened as his hand felt his chest start thumping. He kept thinking as logically as he could. The problem was, he didn't exactly understand what he was looking at, but it made him curious nonetheless. He started back to the beginning again, even more confused and stimulated now. He wondered again if he should even be looking at it. The vent pushed another breath of air through the relief room. Tiles hummed faintly. Jet didn't notice. He set the book down on the floor and traced the front with his thumb. He liked that it wasn't perfect, like it had been used before, like the kind of thing a father might have used but never understood either. He just kept wondering. He felt something inside him rise again when his eyes lingered on it too long. When he held it just right, he swore the walls moved with him. It calmed him. He liked it being here. The one door in the unit shut. The only place he could be alone. Just the sound of the water running and the warm mist on his skin. He looked at the thin strip of light under the door. The only other occupied frame in the unit was the front door. Privacy wasn't earned. The relief room was the only place that gave him a latch to close. The only place he could be alone with himself. Alone with this. He held it tighter in his hands now. He paused, moved his eyes away, then felt them pull back again. He looked through it from different angles. Left, right, left again. Habit. Motion kept him level. It brushed softly in his hands like he didn't want to let it go. The light above him blinked once. Maybe steam. Maybe not. His breathing became uncontrollably heavier. The sound from the faucet covered the excitement. But it didn't last long. Just like that, something shifted. And he threw the thing across the room. He pulled his knees to his chest and thought about what this might mean. For him. And his breathing picked up rapidly again. As he wondered what would happen if anyone knew about this. But from the hall came a creak outside the door. Boots on tile. His father's voice, rough but calm. Jet? What are you doing in there? Jet's stomach dropped. The water ran harder. As fast as he could, he looked down at the dirty gray glass one more time. A final pulse. Then he scrambled to slip it back under the sink, behind the pipes in the back, its hiding spot. It fit perfectly, snug against the back wall. He closed his eyes as he held his hand on it one more second before closing the cabinet door. He stood, peeled off his shirt, and stepped into the shower. The noise covered his tracks. Nothing! Showering! He shouted back as he jumped in. Well, hurry up. You're going to use all the hot water. His dad yelled, with a loud tone that could be heard through the door and over the gushing water. Jet's breathing started to finally slow down. He tilted his head under the spray and wondered. It was true, in a way. He wasn't just washing off the day. It was like something else was detaching itself from him as well. He needed it off of him as he finally caught his breath. He scrubbed his body like he was trying to erase it away. He thought again of what he saw and pushed it away quickly. He didn't want to think about it again. The lights pulsed steady, pretending not to notice what it already knew. Joel woke up in a very close space. It was like a small closet, not metaphorically, an actual supply recess carved into the inner wall of the house. Shelves removed, vents sealed with filter mesh, just enough room for a folded blanket, a pillow, and a body that knew how to make itself smaller. The fluorescent strip outside the door hummed faintly. Just dry, filtered air and the scent of clean panels. He blinked once, steady. He had slept well, better than he had in the E-suite. There was something about tight quarters that made the world simpler, contained. No open ceilings, no gold glare, just clean lines and hard edges. A voice came through the door. Soft, close. Joel? He smiled before he answered. The panel slid open slowly, and there was a familiar face staring back at him. Rihanna. Her violet band caught the light, then dimmed again as she leaned closer so the hallway camera wouldn't catch her profile. How'd you sleep? She asked him with a smile. I can honestly say this is the nicest closet I've ever had to hide in for a long period of time. Thanks for the blanket and pillow. No problem, she chuckled. Mind if I join you? I should probably get going. No, don't go. Not yet. You're not going to get caught. Joel smiled. He shifted, making space. She slipped inside and pulled the panel nearly shut behind her, leaving only a thin seam of light slicing through the dark. They sat knee to knee, whispering, always whispering. It felt like being 14. It felt like treason. So last night was fun, Rihanna smiled. Joel pulled a thin roll from his jacket lining and geed the elderflower carefully, cupping the ember so no light escaped under the door seam. Rihanna raised an eyebrow but didn't stop him. You're comfortable, she whispered. I know what I'm doing. He inhaled slowly, controlled, held it, released it like a breath he'd been saving for weeks. The closet didn't fill with smoke. It thinned into the vent like it belonged there. She watched him carefully. Does it make you slower? She asked. No. Paranoid? He shook his head once. It makes the quiet quieter. She gasped. Joel rolled his eyes. She studied him like she was assessing metrics. I've never seen anyone do what you did, she whispered. She nodded. With the full back. You backed your brother to place, not to win. One would assume you'd back him to win. Joel leaned his head against the hard wall. I stopped trying to make it happen, he said softly. I just let it come to me, and everything lined up. You don't push the pattern, you let it reveal itself. The omens, he finished. She blinked. That's not what a contributor would do. Am I a contributor? He said, with a stem in his mouth. A smile flickered across her mouth. And the second one? She asked. Backing yourself in the Ranger's Rift? He shrugged slightly, letting the smoke linger. That one wasn't thinking either. That was just a feeling, just the path. It felt like it was already there, and I stepped into it. She laughed under her breath. That sounds like the elderflower talking. Maybe, he said, smiling. They both laughed softly. The panel seemed glowed once, then steadied. They both froze. No footsteps, no alarms, just the hum of filtered air. She leaned closer. So, what about Adam? She whispered. He didn't react at first. What about him? He asked. I don't understand it, she said. He was positioned. He was close. An early preservation track. Why risk it? Joel exhaled slowly. I don't know. You don't care? He looked at her. Nothing I could do. She searched his face for something else. He gave her nothing but a tap of his stem on the floor. He seemed to want to help me, though, Joel added quietly. She frowned slightly. How? Joel shifted, rolling the elderflower between his fingers. Okay, this interview is over. It's my turn to ask the questions. Her eyes narrowed playfully. Go. Okay, so back to the topic you wouldn't talk about last night. She blinked. Ugh, fine, so yeah. Some form of the bareback books have been around since the beginning of Eden. They come in various categories. They can be collected and sometimes kept under a bed. They're not that hard to get their hands on. Yet, some contributors still feel the need to steal what's held within them. They usually put you in a different space for a while. Joel nodded. I hear they call it my space. A footstep echoed faintly down the hall. They both stiffened. Silence. The footstep passed. Joel leaned closer. I didn't ask about those bareback books. I asked about the bareback book. Her brow tightened. It's like those bareback books, familiar but different. Something only a few eyes have ever laid eyes on, yet everyone has. They say it can change contributors' lives. And it has the answer to one of Eden's original games. He paused. Her eyes widened. The only problem is, he paused again. They call it the bareback book because once you're finished with it, you're left with nothing but the skin on your back. It will either destroy you or give you something even more dangerous. She stared at him, then asked. He held her gaze. Hope. She sat there quiet for a minute, wondering. Then she raised an eyebrow and shook her head. I have no idea what you're talking about. Her violet light started to pulse. Then Joel asked, how do you not know about the bareback book? All children who grow up in the root know this story. He gathered himself as he caught a flash of her light. But you didn't grow up in the root, he said, plainly. Joel sighed and nodded. That's right. Sorry, I forgot. She studied him like he might fracture. But Adam, he was a violet light too, and I haven't been able to get a word out of other than his name. Finally has an opportunity to speak to me, he does, and then tells me to the bareback book back at the root? Maybe he meant the owl's library. I just don't understand. She didn't blink. He definitely could have meant that, but I really don't know. But from what I'm gathering, maybe this book you're trying to find is real and you should just go home. There was something in her voice, not deception, uncertainty. Joel wasn't blinking. Are you okay? She whispered, gently as she looked deeply into his eyes. He leaned back against the wall. Then I guess I'm gonna have to go back, he said quietly. Then he finally exhaled. After the crucible, of course. He looked back at her. The violet light pulsed even more. They kissed, and that was enough. For a moment, the closet didn't feel small. It felt suspended, outside time. The fluorescent light hummed again. They both listened. No movement. Then he stood carefully. He slid the panel open slightly and stepped out first, scanning her room. White panels, clean lines. She followed. Just once. He stopped at the empty doorframe and turned around. So, are you gonna give me your name and number yet? He flashed a smile. She reciprocated, then rolled her eyes. As he stood in the frame, the lights above flickered once. You should get that checked, he said softly. She laughed. What? The lights. She glanced up. They were steady now. You're seeing things. Maybe. She looked at him a second longer than necessary. Confused. Curious. He gave her a half smile and turned down the corridor. She whispered loudly, My name's Riri. Joel twisted back with a wide grin, then, with a small spring in his step, disappeared down the hall. Behind him, the fluorescent strip pulsed once more, then held steady again.